Internet giant Google has been hit by a massive googly which will cost it about 2.4 billion euros. That's about $2.7 billion. They've been fined by the European Commission for abusing their dominant position. Well, yes, Google is dominant in all of our lives and of course across the world. We use Google searches every day, multiple times a day. But in Europe, Google has been using its dominant position, according to the EU, to push its own product, Google Shopping, at the cost of its rivals. Well, here are the major charges against Google. Google, according to the European Commission, from 2010 onwards has abused its market dominance in general internet search. It's gained an illegal advantage in comparison shopping market and of its own product, Google Shopping, by pushing that the most. It has systematically given prominent placement to its own comparison shopping service. Let me explain to you how that works. So if you're in Europe and you were looking for a product, say a Samsung phone, well, if you typed in a search, it would first show you Google Shopping. Let me give you an Indian context to that. It's not exactly what is happening here, but it might be close enough. So suppose I'm looking for a Samsung S8. Well, if you can see, it says shop for Samsung S8 on Google. Now, according to the European Union, products that paid Google to feature on this Google Shopping got the first pick, and competitors were demoted or relegated to later pages, sometimes even the fourth page, which led to an undue advantage that Google has gained over all of these years, and hence this hefty fine. A very interesting statistics in the European Union order against Google, the EC order against Google, which is that 95% people only click on the top 10 searches on page 1. So suppose this is your search, most of you are only going to look at the top 10 searches, and out of that 95%, 35% will possibly just go for the first search. So what happens to the poor companies and sites listed on page 2, 3, 4 and 5? Well, there's really no hope for them, because the first search on page 2, that guy is getting just 1% of all the clicks. Hence, according to the European Commission, Google used the fact that more than 90% on an average people in European countries use its service to push its own product at the cost of others. All of this works with an algorithm, and Google gave its own in-house product, Google Shopping, an undue advantage, and hence the hefty fine. Well, Google, of course, is not going to take this down very easily. They have hit back saying that they did nothing wrong and they will challenge this order, but the European Commission has dug its heels in for now. So while it's the biggest fine yet imposed by the European Union, the question is, how much is it going to impact a Google? At the end of the day, it works out to about $2.7 billion. Do remember, Google is a cash-rich company with about $90 billion in cash. Will it really hit Google at the end of the day? Though, of course, Google is bound to appeal. And also, is there an Indian context to this entire saga? Remember, Google is a dominant player the world over, as in India as well. For more on this, I am joined now by Mr. KK Sharma. He's former DG of the Competition Commission of India and also chairman of KK Sharma Law Office. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sharma. First off, there is a case filed in 2012 and an investigation on currently by the CCI against Google using its dominant position in the market in this context for availing services of third-party search engines. Do you see an India context to the entire Google fine that we have seen today?
As a matter of fact, as far as the Google search engine is concerned, because they are dominant worldwide, and this is a very popular search engine, so there is a direct Indian context. And this fine imposed by European Union will have certainly a consequence, and the investigation which is underway will certainly take a cue. The only thing is that they have gone in depth, they have done product wise analysis. We also, our investigation will also will have to go in depth to ensure that they do have a good case. So, second part, you said whether it makes a difference to it. As a matter of fact, it is in innovation space, it is always a situation where the dominant player will start reaping benefits. However, the second part of the order of European Commission is very important that they have to cease and desist from this conduct, otherwise face further consequences. So at least from now onwards, the rivals which have been pushed to say page 7 and page 4, they will have hope that they will be actually competing on the basis of quality of their product and will not be victims of abuse of dominant position of Google search engine.
Okay, another question is that it has taken 7 years to come to this conclusion. This investigation in Europe is on since 2010. Effectively, all the benefits that Google had to gain from its dominant position have been gained. Does the time lag actually, in a world of fast moving technology, hit at the very basis of the investigation?
As a matter of fact, when we talk of high technology, competition law in high technology items, this is always a big issue. Reason is that investigation takes a finite time. Now it's like in crime, it's a cat and mouse game. And I do not see any quick fixes for that, because you cannot be sure of a sustainable fine unless you have investigated it thoroughly, and that investigation takes time. It happens world over. It has happened in the past. There was a cartel of airline cargo fares, and those airlines happily, made reserves in their balance sheets and declared that we are law-abiding citizens. So this will continue, and I don't see that there would be some means by which you can investigate and complete reports in 2 months and 3 months and immediately punish these things. And as a matter of fact, when you come to abuse of dominant position, for which they have been fined, there is a debate in academic circles whether you should punish a dominant player who has itself owes its existence to the market forces, which we worship in competition law. So that part which you are saying will remain, and there will not be any, I don't think, any final end to it. This will continue, but there will be other players. Now at least they will have breathing space. So I believe there are no immediate solutions to this dilemma which you are posing.
To come to the root of the issue, Mr. Sharma, how important is it to impose these fines and send a message to a giant player like Google from the consumer aspect? At the end of the day, the Commission's order says that this actually held people back from getting the right choices or the best possible choice, because all they got was the Google shop choice first at the cost of other competitors.
As a matter of fact, this is, in my opinion, the kind of trailer of the future. In all these online solutions and online kind of services, the algorithm which works behind the screen is much more important than what you see on the screen. And that algorithm is in the control of a dominant player in most of the times. So whether these fines are effective or not, but one thing is there, that on a crossing you do require a police constable, even if half the people are trying to jump and trying to take chances and willing to pay fines in some circumstances. Reason is that what it helps is that when we go to the entire world, the violations of competition law are more in developing world where the enforcement is poor. Whereas where the enforcement is very tight and strict, like EU, the dominant players are vigilant and they try to avoid violating the law. So this fear itself will keep many dominant players to within the line and to behave. So although the fine may be a small amount for Google at the moment, however, such fines are still important. Yes, some jurisdictions have considered it appropriate to go and make it criminal, so that the top executives who are in charge of the operations of the company, once they have a fear of jail term, they desist from such kind of conduct.
Absolutely. Now, as a legal expert, what do you make of the strength of Google's counter? Because they are going into appeal, and a Google lawyer today said that when you shop online, you want to find the products you're looking for quickly and easily, and advertisers want to promote these same products. That's why Google shows shopping ads. So they think that their current version is a very good version for consumers, and they're going to go back with that argument. Do you think that's a strong enough argument?
As a matter of fact, the question is the product which is being offered to the consumer, whether it is a good product or not. Now that part, as far as the investigation and today the press release of EU is showing, it says that the products of the rivals which are competent and good products have been pushed back, and because of human tendency of the consumer, not many people do travel to those pages.
Yeah.
So the premise is the competent and good products are going behind. So if that is true, it will be a tough job. However, if they can claim that products which are coming on the page first are better products, then they will certainly have a case.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sharma. That was the legal perspective on the whole Google fine that will be faced in the European Union. There is, of course, an Indian context as well. But as Mr. Sharma said, that the more vigilant the competition commissions of those nations, the less chances of these violations. Maybe India needs to step up a bit more in that context.